My name is Leora Hale. 2 weeks before my sister's wedding, the groom's mother looked me over like a scuff on her patent leather and said, "You're not bridesmaid material. Nannies belong in the kitchen." My sister, Sloane, didn't flinch. She smoothed her champagne dress, glanced at the crystal chandelier in the boutique, and said, "Please don't come, Lee. Don't embarrass us." I nodded. Understood. The salesgirl pretended to repin a hem as if the silence needed tailoring. I set the satin swatch I'd been holding back on the table, told the clerk good luck with the alterations, and walked out before anyone could see my hands shake. I'd spent 3 years turning down promotions and a year-round au pair job overseas because Sloane wanted her big day to be classic, family-centered, perfect. I learned the flower girl's favorite cereal and the ring bearer's nap schedule. I mapped out activities to keep them calm during formal photos. And now, nannies belong in the kitchen. Outside, the February air bit hard. I stood on the curb and watched cars slide by, each window a quick, watery reflection of a woman I thought I knew. I texted my boss, Dr. Priya Khatri, to say I'd be home on time for the kids' piano lesson. She replied with a heart and a, "We've got your favorite soup waiting. Some people call you family and mean it." At dinner that night, Maya and Ishan argued about who got the blue bowl, and Priya pushed a second roll onto my plate like she always did when my eyes were puffy. She didn't ask what happened. She never asked before I had words. She waited. When the kids ran upstairs, I told her everything. The boutique, the sentence, the nod from my sister who used to beg to sleep in my bed when thunder cracked. Priya listened. Then she wiped the counter with small, precise circles. "You know what my mother used to say?" she asked. "Let people show you the size of their table, then decide if you're hungry there." "I'm not," I said. "Good," she replied, "because you've got better things to feed." I still worked my evening shifts at the conservatory at Willow Park, not because I needed the paycheck, I did, but because I liked the way it felt when the greenhouse glass went black velvet at night, and the string lights made even the worst speeches tender around the edges. I started in coat check at 19, moved to weekend coordinator, then vendor wrangler, then the person you called when the cake leaned like Pisa, or when the DJ drove to the wrong Willow Park an hour away. The old owner, Evelyn March, used to watch me pace a room like a chessboard and laugh into her flute of club soda. "You don't solve problems," she'd say. "You prevent them by seeing them 10 minutes early." Evelyn died last spring, quiet as the opening bars of a ceremony song. 2 months before, she'd called me into her office, all clipped hydrangeas and lemon polish, slid an envelope across the desk, and said, "Sign where the tabs are." The tabs were stuck on a stack of papers thick as a book. The ink smelled like new beginnings. "What is this?" I asked. "An agreement," she said. "You'll pay me over time, I'll keep my name off it for now, and you'll keep this place exactly what it's supposed to be, a home for promises. I've watched you treat other people's days like glass, Leora. You're the only one I trust with mine." I blinked at Willow Park Holdings, LLC next to my name, and felt the floor become a different kind of ground. We kept it quiet. The staff knew new management existed. They didn't know the new manager still wiped down high chairs after every event, and kept extra hairpins in her apron, because brides forget they're human until the first wisp escapes. I didn't tell my family, because my family measured worth in business cards and last names, and because silence sometimes protects the things you love. Sloane's fiancé, Dylan Lang, came from a family that settled arguments with invoices. His mother, Victoria, had tried to book the conservatory the minute they got engaged, but our calendar was full. 3 months later, after Victoria found a way, a Friday spot appeared. A hedge fund buddy's daughter rescheduled to St. Bart's. I let the sales team handle it. I didn't want to sit across from a woman who ranked human beings like place settings. The Monday after the boutique, Victoria emailed me not knowing. The message CC'd 3 planners and 2 lawyers. Subject: Final requirements. 47 bullet points, including the exact temperature of the champagne, a ban on kitchen staff visibility, and a note, no children allowed in the main hall except during processional photos. I read that one twice. My job was kids. I drafted a polite response from my general manager account, clarifying fire codes and noise ordinances and union breaks. People forget kitchens are living things that need air and time. Then I stared at the no children line until the cursor blinked like a metronome in my chest. That night, Sloane called. I heard you responded to our venue with pushback? Clarifications, I said. You don't work there anymore, she snapped. You watch other people's kids. Stop sticking your nose where it doesn't belong. It belongs, I said evenly, where people I'm responsible for might be treated like furniture. Silence. Then, if you come Friday, stay out of sight. I'm not coming, I said, and the truth of it settled like a warm coat. I've got a shift. At a real job? She asked. At one that pays the mortgage, I said, and hung up before the rest of the sentence burned. On Tuesday, our venue manager, Diego, flagged the Lang contract. Weird addendum, he said, sliding the file to me. Clause 14C, they insisted on a non-refundable, non-transferable rider. Okay. But they also tried to cap the venue's authority to enforce safety rules. And someone struck our standard respectful conduct clause. Who signed it? I asked. Victoria, and he tapped the last page. Your attorney, I smiled. Evelyn's attorney. Mine now. I flipped to the signature block with my private email listed by design, not name. Their counsel had initialed each tab, Jacobson and Price, a firm that liked to send letters thicker than the invoices attached. We'll follow the contract, I said, and our rules. If they don't like both, they don't like either. Wednesday, Priya found me labeling escort cards at the kitchen island after bedtime. You don't have to do this, she said. I like it, I said, making the table make sense. You also like protecting people who don't protect you, she said softly. I set down the pen. Not this time. Thursday afternoon, Victoria requested a last-minute walkthrough. I trailed behind as our day of lead pointed out lighting cues and power strips. Victoria snapped photos like evidence. At the doorway to the greenhouse, she turned. And the help will use the service entrance? Everyone uses the same door, I said. It's the quickest route to safety if something goes wrong. Nothing will go wrong at my son's wedding. Nothing goes wrong, I said, because we plan for it. Her smile didn't reach anything living. Don't be precious, dear. It's a venue, not a church. Later, in my tiny office behind the herb wall, I went through the Lang folder again. Licenses, permits, timeline, payment ledger. The check had cleared. The rider was legal, if brittle. My hand hovered over one last envelope. E.M., scrawled on the flap in blue ink. Evelyn's. She'd left 2 of them in the safe when we closed last June, one labeled, for Leora's eyes only, the other, open if a March promise is at stake. I kept them beside the extra hairpins. By midnight, the chandelier bulbs hummed low. I walked the dark greenhouse with a flashlight, clicking it off to let memory shape the path. Evelyn's hand on my forearm at my first solo wedding when the officiant got stuck behind a freight train. The night a storm took down the power, and the band played acoustic under sparklers, and the bride cried into my shoulder, not because it failed, but because it didn't. The 1,000 tiny ways you hold a day together so 2 people think fate did the heavy lifting. Friday came dressed like a magazine spread, blue sky, cold air, sun like a spotlight sharpening the edges. I put on black slacks, a soft blazer, flats with soles that wouldn't betray me, and tucked my badge where it lived, not on a lanyard, but on a ring with 2 keys, the service gate and the office safe. At 10:08 a.m., my phone buzzed. Diego, we need the owner at check-in. Contract issue. I stared at the words until they rearranged into the thing I'd been postponing because I still wanted, stupidly, to be invited like a sister instead of summoned like a solution. I slipped my keys into my pocket. On my way, I replied. Outside, a delivery truck hissed to a stop. The air smelled like eucalyptus and something new beginning to burn. And for the first time all week, I didn't feel small. I felt like a door about to open. By the time I reached the conservatory gates, the lot shimmered with rental SUVs and pastel dresses. Through the glass wall, the Lang family looked like an ad for their own wealth. Perfect teeth, stiff hugs, floral arrangements taller than reason. Leora, Diego waved me over. Contract problem. The groom's side refused to sign the updated fire code acknowledgement. The clause that says management can halt the event if guests block exits, they can't refuse, I said. That's state law. Tell them, he muttered. Inside, Victoria Lang stood at the altar end of the room, phone in hand. We agreed to no interruptions, she said. I'm not delaying a $300,000 ceremony for a formality. Her voice carried like perfume, sweet until you breathed too much of it. I took the clipboard. Mrs. Lang, it's not a formality. It's a safety clause. She blinked, slow and amused. And you are? Operations lead. Operations? She smiled toward the photographers. Lovely. Then operate somewhere else. Behind her, Sloane glanced at me once, half pleading, half afraid. Then she looked away. I could have argued, but arguing only feeds fire. So I said, you'll want to read line 17. Her manicure tapped the line. Her mouth froze on the word owner. Excuse me? Clause 17 authorizes immediate cancellation by the owner if conduct violates our standards of dignity or safety. You're bluffing. I took out my keys. The one with the copper tag winked under the lights. You signed a non-refundable agreement, Mrs. Lang. With me gasps. Chairs shifted. A violinist stopped tuning mid-note. Sloane's bouquet slipped from her hands. You're lying. I met her eyes. Would you like to see the paperwork? Diego handed me the file like it weighed history. The embossed letterhead glimmered. Willow Park Holdings, LLC, Leora Hale, owner. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. Then the groom's best man whispered, Holy, she owns the place. Victoria's laughter cracked, brittle as glass. You think this stunt impresses anyone? You clean floors and think you can humiliate me? No, I said quietly. I maintain spaces where people vow to treat each other with respect. Today seems like a good day to start enforcing it. Word spread faster than the champagne. Guests whispered, cameras turned, someone live-streamed. Sloane hissed, Do you know what you're doing? You're ruining my wedding. No, I said. I'm protecting it from people who confuse luxury with love. Security approached, unsure whose orders to follow. I nodded to Diego. Keep staff clear. No one argues with guests. We follow policy. Victoria thrust her phone toward me. My lawyer already spoke to ours. Clause 17 stands. The officiant cleared his throat. Should I... Pause, I said. 5 minutes. The string quartet sat in stunned silence. From the side hall, a small woman in a linen suit appeared. Evelyn's attorney, Mrs. Trent. I hadn't called her. She'd come out of respect for Evelyn's legacy. She stepped beside me. This establishment's license is under Ms. Hale's name. Any attempt to override safety procedures, void service. Victoria's mouth opened, then closed. Sloane whispered, Leora, please, can we just... No, I said. You made it clear I don't belong here. Consider this, me taking your advice. I turned to Diego. Refund the vendors who aren't paid yet. Everyone else, keep your timesheets. Full pay. Then I faced the couple. Your contract is terminated. You may still hold your vows privately in the garden if you choose. Without the audience, Victoria sputtered. You can't, I just did. Outside, wind rattled the glass panes like applause. Sloane's veil trembled. For the first time all day, Dylan spoke. Maybe she's right, Mom. Victoria spun. You ungrateful. Enough. He looked at me. We'll take the garden. Sloane stared at him, then at me, tears tracing careful makeup. Why would you do this? Because I remember when we were little, I said, voice steady. You used to tell me love meant everyone got a seat at the table. Somewhere along the way, you let someone convince you the table was too small. Her lip quivered. I didn't mean, you did. But maybe you can mean better now. She followed Dylan out, bouquet forgotten. Victoria stayed, trembling with fury she couldn't spend. I left her there among the orchids. By evening, social media had named it The Wedding That Stopped Cold. Headlines loved the angle. Bride's sister owns venue, cancels wedding after classist insult. My inbox overflowed, half threats, half thank yous. Priya sent one text, proud of you, dinner's hot. I turned off my phone and sat in the greenhouse with the lights dimmed, the smell of eucalyptus and rain drifting through the vents. Evelyn used to say, some lessons require witnesses. Today had plenty, and tomorrow the real work, healing, rebuilding, forgiving, would begin. The next morning, the news vans were already parked outside the gates. The conservatory's white facade, usually a picture of serenity, now looked like a crime scene of truth. Local venue, owner cancels $300,000, wedding after classist remark. I hadn't planned to become anyone's moral headline. I just wanted quiet dignity. Inside, our staff gathered in the greenhouse. Diego looked nervous, like waiting for a verdict. "Are we in trouble?" he asked. "No," I said. "We told the truth. Trouble only sticks when you hide it." The baker, the florist, the sound crew, all of them looked at me with something I didn't expect. Pride. For years they'd worked behind closed curtains, treated like props for other people's fairy tales. Now they stood taller. "Lunch is on me," I said. "For once, we'll eat in the main hall." That day, the hall filled with laughter instead of rehearsal commands. Servers clinked glasses. The band played softly. For the first time, the conservatory belonged to its people. By afternoon, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Some messages praised me. Others called me jealous, vindictive, ungrateful. One email came from an unknown address, Dylan Lang. "Leora, the ceremony in the garden went on. Small. Honest. Sloane cried through the whole thing. She wanted you there. She told me to tell you that she finally understands. Thank you for showing us what vows are actually supposed to mean. Dylan." I stared at it for a long time. A tear fell before I noticed. 3 days later, I found Sloane sitting outside the conservatory gates, bouquet wilted in her lap, dress traded for a gray hoodie. "I didn't think you'd come back here," I said. "I wasn't sure I'd be allowed," she whispered. "Your family," I said. "That door never locked." She laughed weakly. "I thought you were trying to embarrass us." "I was trying to remind you," I said. "That kindness isn't a downgrade." She nodded slowly. "Mom's furious." "Of course she is," I said. "People get loud when the truth shows up uninvited." Sloane looked at the sign above the gate, the conservatory at Willow Park. "Grandma always said this place had a soul," she murmured. "Guess I finally met it." For the first time in years, she hugged me first. "I'm sorry, Lee," she said. "I know," I said. "Just don't forget it when the next person seems smaller than you." Over the next few weeks, the conservatory's inbox filled with inquiries, not for extravagant galas, but for small weddings, teacher retirement parties, and community gatherings. People wrote things like, "We want to celebrate somewhere kind." We started a new policy. Every event reserves one table for the unseen helpers, janitors, drivers, servers, caregivers. I called it the Full Table Initiative. Evelyn would have smiled. A magazine ran a profile titled "The Nanny Who Owned the Venue." They asked why I hadn't revealed my ownership sooner. I told them the truth. Because power proves more when it stays quiet until needed. One morning, a courier dropped off a cream envelope. Inside, handwritten words curved in expensive ink. "Miss Hale, I was raised to believe status equals substance. Yesterday, I watched my son choose a woman who proved me wrong. Perhaps I should have asked who you were before deciding who you weren't. Victoria Lang." I smiled faintly. It wasn't an apology, but it was an admission. And sometimes that's the seed forgiveness grows from. Sometimes I still walk the conservatory after hours, lights dim, air thick with garden scent. I pause under the glass dome where the Lang wedding froze in time, and I think about all the people who've been told they didn't belong somewhere beautiful. The truth is, belonging isn't a favor someone grants you. It's a fact you live quietly until the day the world notices. Evelyn used to say, "Grace isn't weakness, it's strength that stayed gentle." That night, I finally understood her, because real dignity isn't proven in grand speeches or paychecks. It's proven when you stand in a room full of people who dismissed you, and still choose integrity over applause. So to anyone who's ever been told you're not bridesmaid material, not polished enough, not important enough, remember this. You don't need their aisle to walk in grace. You can build your own doorway. And when you do, the same people who looked down on you will have to look up to see where you stand.